What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel. Now before we get started with this week's episode of WWE's Biggest Issue, the road to 200 subs has now come to a close, and we are now 211 subs away from hitting 500 subs. And if you guys are new to the channel, and I know that a lot of you guys are, because practically 100% of you guys are watching the content, but you guys are not even subscribed. And to top it all off, excuse me, to top it all off, we got to get more women to watch the content as well. So if you guys are watching the content, you like the content, and you want more of the content, but you guys have not subscribed as of yet, then make sure you guys do indeed subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, smash that thumbs up button on this video, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And I want you guys to post in the comment below answering the question of the day, which is this. Who would you guys like to see Jey Uso and Charlotte Flair choose for WrestleMania? Let me know down in the comments below. And that is exactly what we are going to be talking about for this week, is exactly that. Who should they choose for WrestleMania? For Jey, should he choose Gunther or Cody Rhodes? And for Charlotte Flair, is she going to choose Rhea Ripley? Is she going to choose Julia? Or is she going to choose Tiffany Stratton? Well, let's talk about that for a bit, because right now Jey Uso is at a bit of a crossroads, because you look at how far Jey has come in terms of his career, right? Throughout pretty much his entire career, leading up to the last couple years, he's been more of a tag team guy than a singles guy. And yes, while it is true that yes, as a singles competitor, yes, he did win War Games with Cody and Seth and Sammy and Randy Orton. Yes, he was able to defeat his own twin brother Jimmy and become Intercontinental Champion. People seem to also forget that he also won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal several years ago in 2021. This was right around the time where Roman Reigns was a little over 200 days as champion. So that says a lot. And if you really think about it, Jey has a lot to consider. On one hand, you have a dream match: Cody Rhodes versus main event Jey Uso for the WWE title. A huge dream match. You know, it's a Rhodes versus a member of the Anoa'i family. That right there would be the ultimate dream match. Two big baby faces from two different brands going at it for the biggest prize in professional wrestling right now. On the other hand, you have a guy, Gunther, who has beaten Jey a few times. One of those times, obviously due to the fact that Jimmy Uso got involved. But Jey now knows all of Gunther's secrets, the same way that Sammy knew all of Gunther's secrets when Gunther was the Intercontinental Champion. So you do have some So Jay does have a pretty big decision to make. Now, as far as Charlotte Flair goes, you got 3 options, right? You can either go for the rubber match against Rhea Ripley, or you can go for one of the 2 dream matches, Julia or Tiffany Stratton. Let's think about this for a bit, right? Because when you look at Charlotte Flair, the last time she won the Royal Rumble, it was 5 years ago. And at that time, there was a lot of talent that got released during that time. This time around was no different. Think about who exactly has been released already. Elektra Lopez. You got superstars like Elektra Lopez, Isla Dawn. Continuing on, Akam, Razar, Paul Ellering. Obviously, those guys I mentioned. I think in yesterday's video, or I think Saturday's video. I think it was Saturday's video that I talked about the Authors of Pain being released, Blair Davenport being released. The Good Brothers, Anderson and Gallows, were another 2 that ended up getting released. But it's weird because there were reports saying that it was Carl Anderson that introduced Charlotte Flair to Andrade a number of years ago, and he paid for it big time by getting released. Now that both Charlotte and Andrade are divorced, yeah, that says a lot. Cedric Alexander is another one that got released recently. A new one, Giovanni Vinci, which was a bit predetermined, I guess, if you will. Sonya Deville, another one that got released. And then you also have Duke Hudson was also another guy that also got released as well. So literally 12 people got released from their contract, mostly because of Charlotte Flair. A lot of people believe that is the case. I don't know if it is, but if people want to believe that, then hey, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, so that happened. I think it mostly had a lot to do with the fact that most of those guys didn't really have a lot going on, creatively speaking. But to be fair, Carl Anderson was out with an injury. So it's like, why not just wait? Why not just wait until he came back and then go ahead and just release him or something? I don't know. But going off topic here. You have a lot of options, right? If you're in the mind of Jey Uso, you have a lot to consider. For one, going up against a guy who basically gave you a second chance would be such a dream match, right? It would be a way that would come full circle for a guy like Jey Uso. But at the same time, if you know all of Gunther's secrets, then that would be one thing to consider. Is the fact that you know all of Gunther's secrets, you know what he's capable of, and you know how to stop him from hitting you with those chops, hitting you with that power bomb, and you know how to counter his patented sleeper, which has taken out so many superstars over the years, including guys like Drew McIntyre, guys like Sheamus, guys like Dirty Dom, Logan Paul. It's taken out dozens of WWE superstars over the years, dating all the way back to his time on NXT UK. So there's a lot to consider. Now as far as like who Jay would pick, right? Here's the thing, right? Drew McIntyre on SmackDown said that he went back to SmackDown to go after Cody, go after the very title that he got screwed out of so many times over the years, and that is being the WWE title. Sorry, I couldn't speak. The WWE title, a championship that goes back decades, goes all the way back to the 1960s, if I remember correctly. If I remember right, I believe it goes all the way back to the 1960s, where the first ever champion, all the way back to 1963. Going all the way back to 1963, when the original Nature Boy Buddy Rogers first became champion. And since then, more than at least four dozen Hall of Famers have held that title. Guys like Ivan Koloff, guys like Pedro Morales, Bruno Sammartino, Bob Backlund, Iron Sheik, Superstar Billy Graham, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage, Bret Hart, Yokozuna, Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kane, Undertaker, Edge, Mick Foley, Big Show, Rob Van Dam, Stone Cold, The Rock. So many names have held that title, and a lot of them went on to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, which that right there is just incredible. And again, shout outs to Paul Triple H Levesque on getting inducted into the Hall of Fame as a singles competitor. Shout outs to him, man. He deserved it. Way long overdue. Like, this had to have been at least 10 years in the making. Like, he could have been inducted 10 years ago, and everything would have been fine. Now as far as the world heavyweight title goes, this doesn't just go back to a couple of years ago when it was first reintroduced. This goes all the way back to the old WCW days, all the way back in all the way back in the old WCW days, back in the 1990s. Actually, back in 1991, if you look at the design of the current world heavyweight title, that the front plate, if you will, that version, if you will, or its origins, if you will, goes all the way back to 1991 when guys like Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Goldberg, Bret Hart, Hogan, Kevin Nash, Sting, Booker T, all these guys won the world heavyweight title, and they made it mean something. They brought honor into it. And then you look at the second iteration of the world heavyweight title, which dates all the way back which dates all the way back to 2002 when Triple H first became champion. Since then, you had guys like Shawn Michaels, Goldberg, Undertaker, Kane, Big Show, Mark Henry, Daniel Bryan, Edge, Christian, Randy Orton, Booker T, Rey Mysterio, the great Khali. Who else can I name? Batista, Jack Swagger, Chris Jericho, Alberto Del Rio, CM Punk. Excuse me. CM Punk, Jeff Hardy, just to name a few. Dolph Ziggler. All those guys that I mentioned won that world heavyweight title, and they brought honor into it. Then this version that we have now, come on, Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, Gunther, those four men, have actually brought honor into the world heavyweight title, which has been incredible. So you have a lot to consider about both titles. So in my opinion, if you're a guy like Jey Uso, the one thing that you would have to consider is, do you want to fight your best friend and lose your best friend in the process, or do you want to defeat a guy who you know you can beat, while at the same time become the fourth member of the Anoa'i family to win a world title in WWE, especially when it came to WrestleMania. The way I see it, if you're in the mind of Jey Uso, you have to go with the latter. Instead, while it's true that it's the old adage, you can make friends or you can make money, Jey doesn't want to lose his best friend in a guy like Cody Rhodes, who gave him a second chance. So the way I see it, especially with tonight on Raw, there's been a lot of chatter. There was a lot of chatter over the weekend that tonight on Raw, at the time that I'm going to be posting this, which will be literally here in just a little bit. There have been some chatter that apparently Jey Uso will be making his final decision tonight on Raw. So in my eyes, the only option is obviously Gunther. Why? Simple. Cody wants simple. It's very simple. Right now, Cody wants to face off against the best of the best. Now, while it is true that yes, Jey is on that level, the one thing that you have to consider is the friendship between them. What happens if Jey wins? If Jey becomes WWE champion, what does Cody do? Does Cody accept the reality and embrace him and say, say, hey, this is your time, or does Jey win and Cody turns his back on him and the fans, and the same thing goes for Cody if he wins, right? Does Jey accept it and say and tell Cody, congrats, you earned it, or does he turn his back on Cody and reunites with Solo and his bloodline? That's something that the world, that a lot of fans have to consider. So in my opinion, it has to be Gunther. I think for Jey, if you know all of Gunther's secrets and you know how to expose his weakness, if you will, the best thing to do is to exploit them and ensure your victory. Where as opposed to a match with Cody, it literally becomes the worst case scenario for everybody, the fans, for Cody, and for Jay, because it doesn't matter who wins and who wins or who loses. Either way, one person is going to turn their back on the other, and the fans are not going to like it whatsoever, and it ain't going to be pretty. Now, as far as Charlotte Flair goes, there is a lot to consider. As far as Rhea goes, yes, Rhea Ripley was right on one thing. Yes, their first encounter at WrestleMania, Charlotte Flair won. She became NXT Women's Champion. On the other hand, again, when you look at WrestleMania 39 here in my hometown town of LA, inside SoFi Stadium, Rhea picked up the victory. So the way I see it, you have yourself a tie, one apiece. Why not go for the rubber match? Now as far as the NXT Women's title goes, Julia is one of the biggest stars going on NXT. If not the best, pure Japanese wrestlers we have ever seen in a very long time. I would probably say since Io Sky. And that's saying a lot, because Io took that NXT Women's title and made it mean something. It's the same thing with Asuka. She took that title and held it for almost 600 days, proving that no one was on her level and no one was ready for Asuka. No pun intended. So there is, I do see a dream match within that scenario. But imagine what happens if Roxanne Perez became champion again, or if Bayley became champion again. If Charlotte Flair picks the NXT Women's Champion, then odds are, instead of facing Julia, Charlotte Flair would have to face off against either Bayley or Roxanne Perez. But we also found out that Roxanne Perez will be a part of the Raw roster full time. So it's pretty safe to say that when you look at Vengeance Day this coming Saturday, it's pretty obvious that Julia might end up she could end up picking up a victory over both Roxanne and Bayley. Now, as far as Tiffany Stratton goes, the funny thing is that they're basically two sides of the same coin. No pun intended. They're both athletically gifted, and they both have incredible gymnastic abilities, if you will. Excuse me. And they both were great. Were incredible NXT Women's Champions. That right there is a dream match. Incredibly, just two high-flying females going at it to see who is the best. Is it time to bow down to the queen, or is it Tiffy time? The way I see it, I think looking at this one, I think it would be better for Charlotte Flair to target Tiffany Stratton, and the only reason is because right now Tiffany Stratton is already now at the top of her game. Yes, we are aware that this Friday on SmackDown she does have to defend the WWE Women's title in a rematch against Nia Jax. Yes, that we are all of us are fully aware. But if she chooses the WWE Women's Champion and Tiffany wins, how does the road to WrestleMania go? Because even though she meant to come back as a babyface, the fans are addressing her as a heel. And so the way I see it, I think the best way to establish Tiffany Stratton as a top babyface in the women's division on SmackDown is if Charlotte Flair targeted Tiffany Stratton for WrestleMania, and we get the dream match that the whole world has been wanting. Are these decisions going to happen? In terms of Jey Uso, it's possible, but I highly doubt it. Only time will tell. As far as Charlotte Flair, you never know. We will have to wait and see in the coming days, maybe even the coming weeks. But with that being said, that will do it for this week's episode of WWE's Biggest Issue. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more episodes of WWE's Biggest Issue in the future, then make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all my social media. All my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.